Hi, my name is Kevin McDonald, and I'm declaring my independence. Independence from what? Why, negative thoughts and energy, of course. Chief among them, hate, division, and fear. You see, I know that we're all one, and together we can solve any problem, save our planet and each other. Please, join me as we come together as one and choose a better way to be. So now, let's begin with my independence report. And welcome, everybody, to my Independence Report. It is near the end of 2001, and thank goodness we're getting rid of that one. We're hoping that 2002 is going to be a lot better for everybody today. I've got a wonderful guest that I have wanted to talk to for a little while. She's got a book out. It's called Silent Freedom. And if you want to follow along, you can go to www.silentfreedom101st.com. This is 101 first, or .com. You can follow along by going there. And we're talking to Aurea Franklin. Young lady, how are you today?
Hi, Kevin. I'm fine. How are you?
I'm really, really good, thank you. Although, for those people that are going to be listening online, it is still like 25 degrees here in Seattle where I live. But that's life. It's nothing, absolutely nothing compared to what you went through when you were on tour in Iraq. And she has written the book Silent Freedom based upon her experiences while she was with the storied, and I mean famously storied 101, or the Airborne 101 Airborne, which was in World War II. They fought on D-Day. They dropped behind the enemy lines on D-Day. They had horrific casualties in World War II, but they were the brave of the brave. And the 101st Airborne is one of the military units that we all hold in very high esteem, and we're very proud of what they did, and we're very proud of what you did. First of all, thank you for your service, and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kevin. Thanks again. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you are so welcome. The first thing I got to ask you is, now you went through a lot of experiences. What motivated you to write a book about it?
Oh, yes, that's a great question, Kevin. What motivated me to write the book is that I'm so proud to be assigned with the 101st Airborne Division Air Assault and the deployment in Iraq. Just like you said, they claim that they don't have history and they have a rendezvous with destiny. That was our motto. And they call us the Screaming Eagles. I better not touch my mouse. I'm sorry about that.
Very good.
Okay. And what motivated me is, well, first of all, my son. Also, my fellow soldiers, men and women who deployed to Iraq, and my relatives, my friends, and somebody from work that I've been talking to, Dr. Williams. She advised me to publish this book. I have been holding on to it since we came back from Iraq, and it's time to let the whole world know, Aurea, what you've been through, what you have seen, and it would be great to share what you have experienced with the 101st. That's what happened.
And you were in Iraq. How long were you in Iraq for? I know you served at least a year.
Actually, I was in Iraq for 4 years.
Oh my gosh.
4 tours. And Kevin, I almost became an Iraqi citizen. I was just kidding. I'm just kidding.
You were there long enough. You were there
long enough. And I hope that people you don't mind if I say I really had a good time in Iraq.
Well, I'm glad you had a good time, because there were lots of bad times.
There are lots of bad times.
I would guess. Now, you were in Mosul, and you were in Crete, and you were in Baghdad. And for those of you that need a little history lesson, Crete is where Saddam Hussein, that was his hometown. a little town in the desert, and Mosul was the hotbed of insurgent activity for a number of years in Iraq. After of course, we declared victory on that battleship that President Bush went to and said, we've won, and that was just the beginning of a lot of, and it was very hard. I'm curious. You said you had a good time in Iraq. Define what a good time is for you.
Yes, a good time. I can define a good time as, oh my gosh, Kevin, they fed us. That's one thing for sure. They fed us well. We have steak and lobster, and oh
Wow.
my God, well, it was hard the first time, the first year, of course, right? Everything was, we didn't have running water, we didn't have good food. We depended mostly on the MREs, meals ready to eat.
Yep.
And
I've heard about those. By the way, I don't know. I've never been in the military. I was when I came of age. It was 1975. We were just getting out of Vietnam, and nobody wanted to talk to anybody that was in the military at that time. So I never experienced an MRE or MIR or MRE. What is a ready to eat meal? What is it? What's in it?
ugh. Dry food. Well, good things like the spaghetti, for example. It was my favorite. It's packed, um, and they provided us a heating pad to cook it for about, I forgot how many minutes. Probably um, I don't know, 5 minutes. I have to look at it again, and then it filled our tummy. It filled me, and also we have cookies. We have punch came with it, and it filled us. We have one hot meal a day during that time, and
So
so yeah, yeah. And so when they built the first dining facility, like, oh wow, it's a facility sent from above. They really start spoiling us with different kinds of good food. Oh my God, sinful desserts, ice cream of all flavors. Oh, that's one thing I enjoyed. That's why.
well, I'm glad now. When you first went there, you told me that you were intense until they had the facilities bring, for lack of a better term, a small mobile home kind of thing that they would just put down and you guys stayed in. So you were intense with the bugs and the scorpions, and tell me about that.
Oh, sure. Can we start how I got to Mosul, Kevin?
Sure.
Okay. Actually, I deployed in the middle of my divorce with my husband for 20 years, and I was living young, sun-blind, and I was a soldier, so I had to comply. I had to go, and then we deployed. We were staged in Kuwait, and then we went to Iraq, Camp Udary. Um, did you hear about Private Lunch?
Yes.
Okay. We were in that area, in Nasiriyah, 10 minutes away where she was kept. And I serve I served in a big hospital there. It was a critical mission, so I had to stay behind. And my unit deployed to northern Iraq, a city called Mosul, popularly known as where one of the biblical prophets, Jonah, was buried. And Mosul became a hotbed of insurgency. So I was left behind in Kemidari. And after the hospital, I was a casualty liaison officer, and it was so hard. I was the link between uh, be- between the hospital and the 101st, I had to report everything up to the higher headquarters, Department of the Defense, Department of the Army. It was a critical mission. So I was there, and after the mission was completed, I called my commanding officer and I asked him, what should I do now? And he advised me two things. He said, you can either redeploy with the 86 Combat Support Hospital, or you can rejoin us. The first one is very possible, but the second option would be impossible, and it would take a miracle to rejoin us because of the war. I was only a ground assault convoy, or ground convoy to get there. It was impossible. And this was like, it was hard for a woman like me to be at war because I talked to every unit, every single unit going to the northern part of Iraq, but nobody took me, and nobody wanted to be responsible of me. So I ended up going back to my tent and crying. And it's called silent freedom because I held onto my faith. I really wanted to rejoin my unit in Mosul. And you know what, Kevin? Miracles happened, all at the same time. One morning, we were getting ready to tear down the hospital tent. And one day, my fellow soldier and I manned the tent, and we were on the desk. And this pilot came in and said, I am here to pick up a litter patient. And then, we don't have that litter patient to be picked up. So my fellow soldier and I look at each other like, is this a bad joke or something? And we look at each other like, I'm sorry, but we don't have a litter patient or any kind of patient to be picked up. Today we were tearing down. And then he looked at me, and then I look at him, and my silent freedom was screaming to the helm. I said, but I want to be your passenger. And so he said, then he took his sunglasses off. I remember his smile, and he said, then pack up, and I will meet you at the helipad in 20 minutes. I called him my Saint Michael, the Archangel. I thought God sent me Saint Michael on that day to give me a ride to Mosul and rejoin my unit. Hallelujah. I was really very happy. And I went back to after saying goodbye to my fellow soldier, I went back to my tent crying, and I shoved everything on my uniforms in my duffel bag, Kevin, and everything that did not get contained in my duffel bag, I have to shove them in the trash bags just to get out of there. And the second miracle happened was when I said, I am not sure. I wasn't sure if I'll be able to make it in 20 minutes to the helipad. I had all these bags and plus my rifle and everything. And I needed a gator. A gator is just like a golf cart.
Sure.
And then you know what? My fellow soldier showed up with a gator. I said, oh my God. And he helped me, with my things and drove me to the gator. And we made it in 20 minutes. This soldier was the same soldier. And I remember his name, Staff Sergeant Figueroa. He was my hero. He saved me from the street dogs, Iraqi dogs. One time when I was running, I was doing my physical training exercise. It was he saved me with the gator, and this I could have died because of dog bites instead of gunfights. 24 fangs ready to attack me on that day. What that was scary. Like I froze. So anyway, it was the same soldier who helped me, who took me to the helipad, and I met St. Michael there. So I said goodbye to that hero, and I told him, we told each other, we will see on the other side. This is the United States. And so St. Michael, with his Block Hawk, he flew me over, and we went through turbulence, of course. And I was not worried. It was St. Michael piloting in the cockpit. So what should I be worried about? So, and then we landed on Baghdad, and we said goodbye, and I looked up until he was gone. Like, oh my God, is this really real? Is this real? And then I proceeded and looked for a place where I could have a ride to Mosul. And then God sent me this first soldier the first one I saw wearing a 101st combat patch, a screaming eagle. So
Oh, that's
I
cool.
was very happy. And he's the IT guy in my unit with the 101st Airborne Division.
So he took you the rest of the way to your unit.
What he did, not really. What he did though is he added me to the manifest to take a Chinook. You know what Chinook is?
No.
A helicopter with two blades.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yes. And then this Chinook was supposed to pick up an engine tank on the way to Mosul, my final destination. I said, I will take anything. I will take anything. At that point in my life, I said, I will take anything. So, he added me to the manifest. He was a soldier also like me, he was separated from our unit, and that was his mission. So I boarded the Chinook. There were other passengers, and the Chinook, we waited for the tank engine, which never showed up. And then we went to Mosul. I landed in Mosul, and then I took all my gears, and then put the sling on my chest, my weapon sling, and then I went inside our headquarters, and I felt at home because everybody was wearing the same combat patch I was wearing. And then I looked for my commander, my commanding officer, and my first sergeant. I found him and he was so surprised to see me. He said, he said, I never expect you to make it, but I know you're a brave soldier. It would take a miracle to get here. And we shared the same faith. He was also Catholic like me. And I told him, that's exactly what happened. I said, so he stepped back, and I said, oh my God, you really did. You're here. I said, yes, I'm here. I made it. And so we hugged each other. And my commanding officer and my first sergeant also was so happy. And he bragged about me to our fellow soldiers, and she's back, she's here, she made it, and we were so happy. Then after that introduction, then my first sergeant showed me my tent, infested with the scorpions and other crawling insects. And he showed me the shower tent. There was no running water. But I told him, Kevin, it doesn't matter. I will survive. We will make it. And we will make it. And that I just, motivated my fellow soldiers, my soldiers, everybody, like, this is nothing. This is nothing. We can get through this. Except, of course, for those RPGs, grenades that they, throw at us. That was very difficult.
What made you want to go? And I know that it was your unit and you felt comfortable with them, but Mosul was a hotbed of problems and IEDs and people trying to take your life all the time. Because that's a very brave thing for you to do. I'd have stayed with the hospital myself, but and tried to get to the States. By the way, I wanted to ask you, because how old were you when you enlisted?
Oh, I was 31.
Oh, no,
That's not young enough,
no.
but
What?
I
What?
was very proud. Actually, I really did so much, and I maximized all my physical training fitness tests over young soldiers who were like 18, 20, 24.
Good for
You know,
you.
I said,
Good for you.
oh my gosh.
So what motivated you to join in the first place?
It must be the courage that was inside me. My father was a strict disciplinarian, and when I came to the United States, I was married to. I was married at that time. Yeah, I found my, I would say, soul. Um, we were pen pals. I was a college instructor in the University of Luzon, and we met through my fellow instructors. So we wrote each other, and actually hid his first love letter to me in my footlocker. And so he decided to, you know, to see me. He went. I'm from the Philippines originally. Yeah, and he came to the Philippines, and we talked, and he proposed, and I accepted. We had a grand wedding, and then he took me to the United States, and my parents, of course, were crying.
Yeah.
And I was the youngest. I'm the youngest, and also I was crying. But I don't know. I was very brave at that time, and yeah.
You
So
embarked upon a whole brand new life in a whole brand new country that you'd never been in before,
yes,
and your husband, your new husband, took you there, and
yes.
then you joined, and you ended up. Did you know? Did you join before the Iraq War started?
I joined before the Iraq War started. You're right. I joined. I was already in the army. You know, before the 9/11 took place.
Oh, so
I
you were
was,
already
yes,
there before 9/11, even.
yes. I was actually in Wisconsin, in Fort McKay, Wisconsin. We were training the Reserve and National Guards, Army, in the remote places, and so I was my office was downstairs, and this operations sergeant who were working the upstairs, he went downstairs and took and I said, "Yeah, Franklin." They called us by last names, you know. And
Right.
come up, the Pentagon is on fire. I said, "What?" You know, unbelievable. How could Pentagon be on fire? It's Pentagon. You know, it's well secure facility and everything. And so I went upstairs, and oh my gosh, just in time we saw the plane hitting the second tower, and we saw people jumping from the buildings and the billowing smoke. I said, oh my goodness, you know, how could this be happening? And then we realized that we were under terrorist attack. And then after that event, and then it caused multiple deployments of different units to Iraq, to Afghanistan.
Yes.
I believe we were supposed to go to Afghanistan, but we were rerouted to Iraq instead.
In your time there, because you were deployed 4 times, what was your job basically? What was your position? What did you do while you were there?
Actually, I have an administrative support, um, military occupational specialty, or MOS we call it, and it's like we did the evaluations, promotions of soldiers, you know, reviewing the records and finance, paying them. And we did human resources stuff. So we actually, not everybody know, but we really did play a big role, because without us, how could they get paid? Who would process all the admin stuff for them? I mean, anyone who wanted to see their child for the first time, we had to coordinate all their flights, and who is going to get married, and we're coordinated all the flights, and if there was if their parents, if there was a problem or health problems in the family, we are coordinated emergency flights. I'm proud to say I actually wrote the first non-existent emergency leave for soldiers in Iraq in a combat zone, and that's been the guiding book, the guiding policy for the soldiers who deployed to Iraq.
Oh, that's very good. Congratulations. That's pretty cool. But I got to ask you, because you were in human resources and you were dealing with soldiers coming and going, you would have been aware of and in touch with all the casualties that were coming through there. That must have been a horrific experience for you.
Yes, oh Kevin, that's what actually my job while I was separated from my unit the first time. I reported, I was the casualty officer reporting who, the private who landed in a minefield, okay, Lieutenant Colonel and his soldiers who died due to, they were ambushed. The soldiers who died because they ran over IEDs. Oh, there's non-combatant deaths. I was the casualty as an officer, and I guess I was very fortunate to have a strong faith, God, and I'm fine. I might have PTSD, but I'm fine right now, keeping myself busy. And
Good.
I work for the Veterans Affairs right now, but I don't want to mention my job with them
That's
because
perfect.
of
Perfectly okay, because that's not what we're here to talk about right now. We're here to talk about the book Silent Freedom, which is
yes,
the
and
book that
I
you
was
wrote.
very brave by that time. For some reason, I was like, what do you call
Brave.
who would they call it, right? And I don't know. I was very brave, Kevin. I can go anywhere. I actually volunteered to other combat zones during my time in the military.
Just out of curiosity, what is it like? And if you haven't served in the military and you haven't been to Iraq, I want to paint a picture for you as I understand it. And that is that whenever you get into your car, you get into your truck, and you're not in a secure area, like Baghdad, there was a secure area, but everywhere else was not secure. And you could be shot at. You could have an IED that somebody had dug a hole in by the side of the road, and when you pass by, they blow you up. That could have happened to you at any given moment. What is that like? I mean, that's got to add a lot to your commute, going from your tent to the facility. And what is that like? Is it are you in? You must be extraordinarily brave to not be in fear all the time.
Oh, Kevin, it's really it's scary. It's scary. We were fortunate that we live inside a base and inside the wire, we call it. And when we were in Mosul during the early days of deployment, we were able to commute to the what do you call it? We were in the rear, the headquarters in the front where the general lived, and we had what we call a short R&R. We dip into the pool, swimming pool there, in the weekends, and then come back without running through IEDs. And then it became popular. And then we just heard people, getting killed running over IEDs. The enemy finally, designed something that can kill the Americans because each one had a bounty.
Oh, really? We
Yes, like 20 at that time, $25,000, and it goes up. It depended on the rank. So if they kill the general, probably like $100,000.
Oh
And
my goodness
it's
gracious.
not it's not worth it for us, right? But it's a lot of money for them. Yeah,
Well,
but
yeah.
so going outside the wire. After the IED became popular, we left it alone to our foot soldiers because they were equipped. They were gradually equipped with Rambler, we call it, electronic jammers, where and that but that was invented later on. It was used in Iraq and it was also used in Afghanistan. The Rambler, they call it, or the electronic jammer, will jam the IED before it explodes. Before
Oh, that's pretty
exploding.
cool.
But they didn't have that during our time, and so we got lots of soldiers who got killed by this
Well, and
IED.
the other thing that I understand was that in the vehicles that they were traveling in the early days, they were not outfitted to protect from an IED, from an explosion from underneath, like
True.
the later ones, the bigger ones that they brought in were. So there were lots of guys. It was, from what I've been told, it was almost like a driving death trap. If you got hit with an IED, it was going to be a big problem for you. Um, the survival rate wasn't that good, and the wounding rate was horrific.
Right. Yeah. Most of uh, excuse me. Most of the soldiers I know, like, it's fatal. They died out of the IED blast. However, I can tell you that one of my sons was there. On my third deployment, he was in Baghdad. He ran over an IED. He was an engineer, a combat engineer. I didn't know what he was doing at first, right? And Patrick, he was a captain. And he told me one time they ran over an IED. He said, "What? My God, I was surprised. And it was terrible." And he said, "You're right, Kevin. Later on, then we harden our vehicles. They call it. It's called MRAP, MRAP, and I forgot what it stands for, but it's a hardened vehicle where my son described it as it was raised a little higher. So when they ran an IED, it just gave them flat tire." Yeah.
So did you just say that one of your children was deployed to Iraq as well
Yes.
when you were there?
Yes, Patrick.
Oh, that must have been a horrible experience for you worrying about him.
Yeah, I wasn't worried at all at first because he was very brave, and then when I found out what he was doing, and my anxiety spiked.
Well, yeah, because he was in.
Astronomically, like, oh my God! Every time they go out, anything can happen at war.
Well, and the difference was, and this is how brave you are. The difference was, while we get the news on TV, and we can sort of over here, we can sort of kind of imagine what it's like over there. You were there, so you knew how bad it was, and how difficult it was, and how many guys were not only killed but maimed and permanently injured, mentally and physically.
Yes, it was.
So that would be really, 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 really hard if you were there, because you understood everything. You are an extraordinarily brave woman. Do you know that?
I thank you, Kevin. Praise God for this. I called it silent freedom. That deep inside me.
Indeed, because you are, just to go through what you went through, and you went there 4 times. So you were there essentially. You were right. You almost could declare citizenship of Iraq because you were there so much.
But I
Now,
would
go ahead.
never become a citizen.
Now, are there any stories? Now, I want people to buy the book, so I don't want us to tell everything about what's in the book, but it's about your experiences there, and it's quite a fascinating read from what I understand. I haven't had the chance to read it yet, but it's a wonderful book, and you can, by the way, you can pick it up at Barnes and Noble, Amazon, all the major booksellers, and you can also go to www.silentfreedom101st.com, and you can pick up the book there. You can find out more about this terrific young lady, and although I said you look young, but you joined at 30 in 2000, so you're closer to
It must be.
yeah,
Oh,
you're
Kevin, let us not talk about that.
okay. We'll let that go. But you
We'll let that go.
exactly. But and by the way, how is Patrick today?
Patrick got out as a captain, and he's now he has a job with the State Department. He's in Texas, and he's loving Texas. He said Texas love their veterans there, so he decided to settle there. He love
Good
it,
for him.
and he
Good for him.
actually they were both. I have three, right? Junior is a certified public accountant. He lives in Milan, in Michigan, and Patrick, they were born in Washington. In
They were born at Fort Lewis.
They were born, yes, they were born there, and then Christopher, my youngest one, here in Virginia. He lives in Virginia with me.
Oh, very cool.
You
That
were
is
asking about my experience. One thing, I
yes.
was in my second deployment. Oh, Kevin, I had the opportunity to fire that machine gun from the air, from that Apache
The
helicopter.
Apache.
It
Oh wow.
was exciting. It was so exciting. I thought, oh my gosh, I slept very well that night when we got back. So, it's like above Babylon uh, at that time. It was the epic of my life.
Oh wow, wow! I like I say, you are a very brave person, and you put yourself out there. And the book came out in September of this year, of 21, and so it is brand new. The book's doing well. Yes.
Yes, it is. And it's all in major book retailers and also on lulu.com. Lulu.com. They were the one who printed my book.
Oh, very nice, very nice. Now you said that I can't remember if it was before or during, but you had the book for a while. You wrote it all down. You had the book, and you were talking with somebody who said, you really should publish this, and that they encouraged you to publish this, right?
Yes, that's correct, Kevin. Thanks for that. Actually, yeah, I had the story since we came back. I titled it with different titles like saving, just like the Saving Private Ryan, right?
Right.
Saving Iraq. I came up with that title. I came up with a title like Convoy to Freedom because we were happy when we hit the first free country, which was Kuwait. And then I finally said, oh, I held on to my faith while I was at war. So I finally named it Silent Freedom.
That is a great
So
name, by the way. That's a really cool name.
thank you.
Uh,
And that title is Silent Freedom, a memoir of service with the 101st Airborne Division, Air Assault in Iraq.
That's a longer title, but but it's very self descriptive, and like I said, the 101st Airborne is a storied unit in the U.S. Army, and is a major contributor. They're always the Screaming Eagles were always the first in line to be deployed anywhere, and that was World War II. They were in both theaters in Japan um, and in Europe, and and many men died because they were always on the front lines, and paratroopers and all that. So they were really cool. So that was the unit. If you're going to be in one, that's the one you want to be in, right?
I love it. Yes, yes, that will be my unit, and I will go back in a heartbeat with 101st Airborne Division.
Well, could you have stayed in when you decided to get out? Could you have stayed in if you wanted to?
Yes, I could have stayed in, but we have this what we call a soldier for life. So I'm still a soldier, basically, Kevin.
What are you doing now?
I'm writing novels and I'm working with the federal government. I have told you where I work,
Oh,
helping,
we're
supporting
being
all, yes, supporting all the veteran programs, and I'm happy. I'm happy with what I'm doing. I love what I do.
That's awesome. So now you've got Silent Freedom out there. Have you got another book in you? Are you working on one now?
Yes. Yes. Looking forward to it maybe early next year.
And did you have any? What's it about?
Kevin, you would love it.
Probably so.
You would love it. It's I made it not I made it fiction, but it's kind of like a sequel to Silent Freedom. But this is really an awesome story, Kevin. I'm telling you, I guarantee you, it is a great story, and it could happen, but we
Well,
wish it won't happen.
well, we won't ask you for more details. We'll have to wait for the book to come out. Will you come out when the next book comes out and let me talk to you again?
Please, yes, it will be a great honor, Kevin.
It would be a lot of fun for you to come back and talk about that again, because you are an amazing woman. I can't, you enlisted at 31. It was before 2001. You ended up going to Iraq, spent 4 tours in Iraq, and how much time did you spend in Baghdad? Did you spend much time in Baghdad at all?
2 years in Baghdad.
And was that in the green zone?
We were well, the green zone is where the embassy was. We were
Right.
actually in the yellow zone, you can call it. I was in the zoo, we call it. The zoo is where Saddam Hussein and his sons fed people they dislike to the animals. And
Oh, they really
yes.
did that. That's not.
And during OIF, the Operation Iraqi Freedom, we heard that that's the place where the CIA, that's the place where the secret agents, the FBI, lived, actually. So I'm very proud of where we stayed in Baghdad during my third and fourth tours.
I got to tell you, that would have been something to be where, because you saw so much history because of Saddam, and of course, then ultimately they captured him, and then they tried him and hung him, and probably
And 101st caught him.
Oh, yes.
It was a joint effort, but 101st caught him with the third and 187th Infantry. We call them the Rockasons. It was a joint effort, but the 101st caught him.
And he was the end of a great dictator. He had the ability to cause people to live or die. He made, he had lots and lots of money. He ended up being found in a hole in a next to a building that he was hiding in
with no resistance.
No, no, and no. So he was not nearly the brave man that he thought he was, and quite frankly, the world is better off without him.
Yeah, they thought at first, our soldiers thought that they caught his cook because he didn't look like we were expecting to look like, right?
No,
and he was bearded, an old man, bedraggled, and he was kind of like ready to give up. So when they found his hole, they were about to do a fire in the hole, meant to say throw a grenade in the hole. And then he raised his hand with his rifle, and then said, "I am Saddam Hussein. I am the president of Iraq." And I love our soldiers. And the soldiers said, "Well, President Bush is saying best regards." That was I love our soldiers. It's all in my book.
Oh, very nice. Well, you've got to get the book. It's Silent Freedom. Go to and look at our website. It's really a lot of fun. Go to silentfreedom101st.com. It's 101first.com, and she's got all kinds of stuff there for you to look at and stuff. And congratulations. This is very well deserved. I want to ask you, before we go, I want you to talk to your fellow soldiers who have come back after Iraq, because a lot of guys were wounded, A lot of guys were emotionally scarred. A lot of guys were killed. What message would you have to say to your fellow soldiers, for all those people, those brave souls, and God love them all?
Thank you, Kevin. That hold on to your faith. Sometimes it's hard, but hold on to your faith and hope, and the future will be better. With faith and hope, we'll have a better future.
And if you're watching this now or in the future, and you were in the military, and not just Iraq, not just Afghanistan, but if you were in the military and you had some horrific things happen, and you feel like you need to see somebody, you need some help, don't fight it. Go get the help that you need so that you can live your life the best you can. Because it's what most of these folks have gone through is pretty horrific. So I want to thank you again for your service and for being on a guest on my show. I really appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Kevin. It's a great honor to be here, and let me talk about my experience, my book. Thank you for helping me vent through the pains, my pains, and for the young men and women out there, thank you for your service. You are my heroes forever.
It was a tough time, and I'm for one, I'm glad that's over, and I hope that never happens again. But Aurea Franklin has been our guest today, and she is the author of Silent Freedom. Go pick it up. It's at Amazon. It's at all the major booksellers. If you can't find it at Barnes & Noble, order it. They'll get it for you because it's really
Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, Lulu.com, all the major book retailers. And just type Aurea Franklin, Aurea Franklin, like in Benjamin Franklin, and the words Silent Freedom, and on the internet, and you will find me.
All you have to do is Aurea Franklin, and I found you. Or you could just type in Silent Freedom.
Yes, sir.
And you will find her as well. And read all about her and her exploits. She's got another book coming that may be coming in the spring of 22, maybe.
Let's pray to God. Yes.
Well, when it comes out, I want you back on the show. Okay.
Yes, Kevin. Thank you so much.
Anything else you'd like to say before we go?
Oh, guys, hang in there. It's not too bad. It might be bad. You think things are bad, but just hold on to your faith and hope, and everything will be better.
And if you need help, get the help you need. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure and an honor to have you on the show. And I look forward to the next time we meet. Okay, so if you'll stay right there, I'll be right back.
Yes, sir.
Hey, and thanks for listening to this episode all the way to the end. Hey, pretty cool. Hey, don't forget to follow us so you can receive regular updates and new posts. And remember, take care of each other because each other's all we've got. See you next time on My Independence Report.